Have you ever wondered if the most famous poltergeist case in history was real? The Enfield Poltergeist is a story filled with chilling accounts of paranormal activity, but is it a true story, or just a hoax? The Enfield Poltergeist case is not just a spooky story, it's one of the most controversial paranormal investigations ever. Growing up, I was terrified by the Enfield Poltergeist story, but as I researched the case further, I discovered something truly shocking. There's more to this story than meets the eye. Join me as we uncover the truth behind this haunting legacy. In the late summer of 1977, the Hodgson family, Peggy, a single mother, and her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy, lived in a modest council house at 284 Green Street in Enfield, North London. Their home, like many in the working-class suburb, was unremarkable. A 3-bedroom semi-detached house with a small garden, typical of post-war British architecture. But what began as an ordinary life for the Hodgsons soon descended into a nightmare that would captivate the world. It started with small, inexplicable noises, knocks on the walls, furniture creaking, and footsteps in empty rooms. Peggy dismissed them at first, assuming the house's age or her children's antics were to blame. But the disturbances escalated. Beds shook violently in the night, toys flew across rooms, and heavy furniture slid unaided across the floor. Janet, then 11, and Margaret, 13, seemed to be at the center of the chaos. One night, a chest of drawers lurched toward Janet, stopping only when Peggy screamed for it to stop. The air grew heavy with an oppressive, malevolent presence that seemed to target the girls. Word of the disturbances spread quickly. Neighbors witnessed objects moving inexplicably and heard guttural voices emanating from the house. The local press caught wind of the story, and soon, national newspapers and television crews descended on Enfield. The media frenzy amplified both fascination and skepticism. Headlines screamed of a haunted house, while critics accused the Hodgsons, particularly the children, of staging the events for attention. The family, already struggling financially and emotionally after Peggy's divorce, found themselves under a microscope, their private terror a public spectacle. As the disturbances intensified, the Society for Psychical Research dispatched investigators Maurice Grosse and Lyon Playfair to document the case. Grosse, a lawyer with a personal interest in the paranormal after losing his daughter in a tragic accident, arrived first in September 1977. Playfair, a seasoned researcher of psychic phenomena, joined soon after. Over the next 2 years, they catalogued over 2,000 incidents, ranging from inexplicable noises to physical assaults on the family. The evidence was compelling, yet divisive. Audio recordings captured disembodied voices, including a gruff, male voice claiming to be Bill, a former resident who had died in the house years earlier. The voice, which seemed to speak through Janet, described details of his death that were later corroborated by his family. Photographs showed Janet levitating above her bed, her body contorted in unnatural ways. Witnesses, including police officers, reported seeing chairs move on their own, and objects like marbles and Lego bricks fly through the air as if thrown by an invisible force. One officer, Caroline Heebs, signed an affidavit describing a chair sliding across the room without human intervention. Yet, the evidence wasn't airtight. Skeptics pointed to inconsistencies. Some photographs appeared staged, and the levitation could be explained by Janet jumping from her bed. The voices, while eerie, sometimes sounded real, and critics argued the children, especially Janet, were skilled at ventriloquism or mimicry. Grosse and Playfair themselves admitted that the girls occasionally played pranks, muddying the waters, but the investigators stood by their findings, insisting that the sheer volume of incidents many witnessed by outsiders could not be dismissed as trickery. Theories abounded, some, including Grosse, leaned toward demonic possession, citing the malevolent nature of the activity and the voices' claims of otherworldly origin. Others, like psychologist Anita Gregory, proposed psychological explanations. The Hodgsons' fractured family dynamic, coupled with the stresses of poverty and adolescence, could have manifested as poltergeist activity, a phenomenon some researchers attribute to psychokinetic energy unleashed by emotional turmoil. Skeptics, meanwhile, branded the entire affair a hoax, accusing the children of fabricating the events and the investigators of being too eager to believe. Grosse and Playfair faced relentless criticism. The SPR, while supportive, was divided, with some members dismissing the case as unconvincing. The media, too, oscillated between sensationalism and scorn. with tabloids amplifying the horror while serious outlets questioned the investigators' credibility. Despite the skepticism, Grosse and Playfair's meticulous documentation published in Playfair's 1980 book This House is Haunted remains a cornerstone of the case's legacy. The toll on the Hodgson family was profound. Janet and Margaret bore the brunt of the activity, enduring physical and emotional exhaustion. Janet, in particular, became the focal point, her body and voice seemingly hijacked by the entity. She was subjected to grueling tests, her mouth taped shut or filled with water to rule out ventriloquism, and spent weeks at the Maudsley Hospital undergoing psychological evaluations. The constant scrutiny left her withdrawn and traumatized. Margaret struggled, her adolescence overshadowed by fear and public judgment. Peggy, desperate to protect her children, felt powerless as their home became a circus of reporters, psychics, and skeptics. Johnny and Billy, the younger siblings, were less affected but not unscathed. Johnny, already a troubled child, became more rebellious, while Billy, the youngest, seemed bewildered by the chaos. The family's relationships frayed under the strain, and their financial struggles worsened as Peggy could barely afford to keep the household running. The poltergeist, whatever its nature, left scars that lingered long after the activity subsided in 1979. Culturally, the Enfield Poltergeist became a phenomenon. It inspired books, documentaries, and films, most notably The Conjuring 2, which dramatized the case with a Hollywood flourish. The story tapped into a broader fascination with the paranormal during the 1970s, a decade marked by economic uncertainty and a surge in occult interest. The case also spurred the growth of amateur paranormal investigations, as groups sought to replicate Grosse and Playfair's work. Television shows like Most Haunted and Ghost Hunters owe a debt to Enfield's high-profile investigation, which set a template for documenting a legend. The case's legacy endures in debates about the paranormal. It remains a touchstone for believers who see it as evidence of life beyond death, and for skeptics who view it as a cautionary tale of human psychology and media manipulation. The Enfield Poltergeist continues to shape how we perceive the unknown, challenging us to question what we accept as real. Controversy has always dogged the Enfield case. Skeptics like Joe Nickell argued that the children, particularly Janet, orchestrated the events, pointing to moments when she was caught faking phenomena like bending spoons or hiding objects. Video footage, rare for the time, showed Janet appearing to manipulate objects, though believers countered that these instances were isolated and didn't negate the broader evidence. The girls' pranks, admitted by both Janet and Margaret years later, fueled accusations of a hoax, but they maintained that most events were genuine and beyond their control. The historical context offers clues to the case's complexity. The 1970s were a time of social upheaval in Britain, with economic decline, labor strikes, and widespread anxiety about the future. The Hodgson's struggles mirrored those of many working-class families, and the poltergeist may have been a manifestation of their collective stress. Psychologists note that poltergeist cases often center on adolescents in dysfunctional households, suggesting that Janet's emotional turmoil could have fueled psychokinetic phenomena or, alternatively, motivated her to seek attention through deception. Yet, dismissing the case outright ignores compelling evidence. Multiple witnesses, including those with no stake in the outcome, reported phenomena that defied explanation. The police, initially skeptical, became reluctant believers after their own encounters. Even skeptics like Gregory acknowledged that not all incidents could be explained away. The truth likely lies in a gray area, a mix of genuine phenomena, psychological factors, and occasional fakery, amplified by media hype and societal fascination. The Enfield Poltergeist remains an enigma, a case that resists tidy conclusions. Was it a genuine haunting, a psychological outburst, or an elaborate hoax? The evidence points in all directions, leaving us to grapple with the unknown. For every chilling recording or credible witness, there's a skeptic ready to poke holes. For every accusation of fraud, there's a defender insisting the phenomena were real. The truth, perhaps, is less important than the questions it raises about belief, perception, and the human need to explain the unexplained. The Hodgson family's ordeal reminds us of the fragility of ordinary lives caught in extraordinary circumstances. Their story, whether paranormal or not, is a testament to the power of fear, hope, and the search for meaning. The Enfield Poltergeist continues to haunt us not just as a ghost story, but as a mirror reflecting our fascination with the unknown. What do you think? Was the Enfield Poltergeist a genuine encounter with the supernatural, or a product of human imagination? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're intrigued by mysteries like this, check out our other videos exploring the world's most baffling paranormal cases. From the Amityville Horror to the Bell Witch, we dive deep into the stories that keep us questioning what lies beyond.